Hello guys, how is everyone? I actually can't see anybody, that is the worst place for a light ever. My name's Tom Paton. I am the founder of a company called Pigeon Shrine. We started that company, there you go, that's better. Where's those backlights? We'll turn them off in a sec, there you go. No, the back of the house is not happy about that? Okay. Perfect. I run a company called Pigeon Shrine. We actually started that company 3 years ago, so it's been quite a journey for us. We're called Pigeon Shrine because pigeon's the god of trash, and everything AI made for about 2 years was rubbish, but we offered it up anyway. And we've subsequently gone on to found another company called Reimagine Studios, and recently we released a film called Where the Robots Grow, an 87-minute entirely AI-powered movie. So that's what you probably know me as. Recently I've also been called part of the satanic Hollywood elite, that was good. And I've also been compared to Ed Wood, that was a nice day. But essentially, as a company, what we're very focused on is the future of what filmmaking looks like. I come from the school of thought that technological innovation is almost unavoidable. In fact, I believe the industry that we're all in is a technological industry. People act like it's pencils and paper they're using. It's not. Somebody invented a camera, somebody invented lighting, a bunch of dudes stood in a room about 100 years ago and went, what the fuck do we do with these? And then they basically invented the language of cinema as we know it, which is kind of beautiful. Like, I think, especially editing, it's the only universal language we've ever had as a species. You know, I can watch a film in Japanese, no subtitles, and I immediately know what the close-up means. I know what the wide shot's trying to imply, etc. So we're kind of at the beginning of a new iteration of that, where new tools have come along, and it's sort of our job now to figure out how the fuck do we use these. So that's kind of what I founded the company on, and it was with this idea that there's always, whenever there's a sort of technological push to change stuff, it's usually, you get a couple of small nimble companies pop up first, and they do a bunch of work for about 2 years, and then everybody else goes, oh shit, we need to do this too. And it's at that stage, really, that those smaller companies that were first really should have a plan for economic innovation, I guess is the right way to put this. Because while everybody here is now focused on how do I use this within my production pipeline, what nobody's really talking about is how are you going to make money from your production pipeline when everybody can do it? You know, and I said a thing when I did this interview for Hayden, which is how I ended up here tonight. Hayden messaged me on LinkedIn, was it? Can I come to your studio? I was like, yeah, sure. And now I'm here. But the kind of interesting thing is, we're in a space right now where the industry's already in trouble for various reasons. None of them have got anything to do with artificial intelligence, although I seem to be getting the blame personally for a lot of it. But the problem is going to happen where distribution is already broken. There's already too many films being made for the existing distribution methodology for making money from your products. And so we're kind of going to have to figure out how we're going to make money from all of this. And so we as a company set up Reimagine Studios. We are actually, this is an exclusive for you guys, we haven't announced it in the press, but we're about to. We are actually building a full end-to-end platform. It's not user-generated, it is essentially what Warner Brothers or Disney might have built 100 years ago if they had AI tools. And so we are working very hard on what does that look like. It's not subscription-based, it's microtransaction-based. I'm going to show you a quick trailer that nobody's seen yet for that. And then we'll just do Q&A because no one really wants to hear me talk about stuff. I'm sure you've got loads of questions, and you know we'll try and answer them the best we can. So now you can turn the light off and I'll play this. There you go. Depending on where we get time-wise, I might try and show you some other little bits that we're working on in-house at the end. But you know, I figured probably better to just start getting into Q&A stuff. I don't know if you want to turn that light back on at that. Perfect. We might as well get into what your questions are. I mean, these are really interesting times. We were just saying at the back, it's the Wild West, essentially. Everybody's got their own vision for how it's going to shape out. Everybody thinks they know exactly how it's going to go down. I've spent an awful lot of other people's money on my vision, so I hope it's me that's right. But the reality is that everybody in this room is really going to be part of shaping that. You know, I did a talk at Trieste Film Festival in Italy about a month ago, and there was like 2,500 people at this film festival, a sci-fi film festival. And they asked me if I put a masterclass on. I said, yeah, go on then. So for 6 hours, I was like, hey, you can pick my brain. I'll show you how to do that. 4 people turned up, wow. You know, out of 2,000 filmmakers. So to me, that shows the opportunity that is in this space for everybody in this room. And maybe your pipeline doesn't work straight away, maybe you don't end up with this stuff straight away, but I still believe that in the next 2 to 3 years, you know, these kind of events where it's like, oh, it's an AI filmmaking event. It'll just be a filmmaking event. The word AI will be irrelevant to the conversation. And I can tell you for a fact, I just came back from LA, everybody's doing it. You know, there's this sort of outward thing where it's like, oh, you know, we don't really stand by AI, we're trying to figure out the legalities of it, blah, 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 blah. That's not true. They are all at it, and they're all taking meetings with us, so don't wait. Don't wait for somebody to give you permission to say it's okay to go and use this stuff. Just go and do it would be my thing. So with that, I think we should just do some Q&A really, because I'm guessing you've got much more interesting things to ask than I have to say, so, okay.
Hey, sorry, I'm Jimmy. So that's a really, really nice reel, shows up a pure material really, really well. Had awesome sound. What's your go-to for sound from an AI perspective?
I mean, look, there's this sort of thing that you get in the industry at the moment, which is, you know, oh, it's AI filmmaking, you know, as if it's not also traditional filmmaking. Of course it is, it's both, they live together. And if you are versatile, if you have a versatile team of very talented traditional filmmakers, and you suddenly say to them, okay, everything you do, you have to now do with AI as well. So in-house, we call this synth-assisted production. I have a rule at the company. I mean, look, I'm CEO of Pigeon Shrine. We've grown quite big and rapidly over the last few years. You know, we've also launched this secondary thing. We've currently got 10 movies in the work. So all of those shots, they're not shots, they're, you know, they're not just one-offs, they're shots from actual movies. So I have a rule now, which is, I'm not Einstein level intelligent, but GPT-4 or Claude 3.5 or whichever one's your poison is. So go and have a debate with that first for at least 1 hour before you bring anything to me. Like, I think a lot of people use this technology wrong. They act like it's Google. Hey, give me a suggestion, or what is this? And then they get one answer and they walk off. And that is not what it is at all. If you're using it like that, you're wasting its potential. What it is an Einstein-level intelligent intern who wants to debate with you for as long as you can be bothered to debate with it. And so your question shouldn't be, how do I make a cake? It should be, why should I make this cake? And then you should purposely be argumentative with it about why you're doing it. And if you apply that philosophy to your entire pipeline, so everyone has to do it, the sound team, the VFX team, everyone, no one's off the hook for this. What you get is everybody on your team levels up by 25 IQ points minimum, including myself. And so you just get better results. And I know it's kind of become this boring go-to saying now, where it's like, oh, AI won't take your job, but humans who use AI will. 100%. In the next 5 years, there will be companies who use AI and people who used to own companies. That's it. It's as simple as that. So if you're not already integrating that kind of strategy with your team or yourself, then you should do it immediately. Hope that kind of answers that one. Hi, what's your name?
James, hi.
Nice to meet you, man.
I'm an editor, and I'd really love to know your thoughts on where editing fits into all this and maybe the future of that role.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can answer that straight up. So our pipeline, I believe there's sort of two pipelines coming down the road. I think the independent film sector becomes 1 to 2 man bands, like true auteur visions. This is what was in my head, I also wrote it. This is my mate, he's got a month off, so we're gonna make a film. And around that will come the sort of creator economy as well, this sort of YouTube creator economy where you made it cheap enough that you can sell it to make enough money that it pays your bills, and that's a good living for you. And we'll also get the emergence of sort of Banksies within that space, like a Chris Nolan Banksy, who's like, I'm going on tour with my film and it's $100 for a ticket and then I'm going to destroy it after 90 days and people go out. That will happen. And on the other side of the coin, you've got what I believe is the future of studio-led projects, and that's what we're building. And there's not really a place for the director in all of that. In fact, the two most important people on the team are the writer and the editor. And we take a sort of post-first approach to filmmaking. It's how we do it. So right now, we are currently in production on an anime called Canopsia, amongst some other stuff. But that one started 2 days ago, so it's a good one to talk about. And how that's going down is essentially our editor, Fred. He comes from a traditional filmmaking background, 20 years of doing Elizabeth Hurley movies and stuff like that. Poor guy needed to escape. By the way, we do a 4-day work week at our place, 8 till 6 p.m, because I believe if AI is going to make our production process more simplistic, it should also make your life better. So if anybody's sick of your job, come and let me know. We might be hiring. Everybody's putting around, okay. And so what's really happening here is, like, I look at a script, and a script is, if you think about it, it's a 100-page analog prompt that you give to 300 people and say, go make this. That's what it is. And for 100 years or so, we have told writers, do not put direction in this script. Don't tell me what the tone is, don't tell me where the camera goes. That's the director's job. I used to be a director. I directed 10 traditional films. We're a bunch of pricks. No offense if you are one, but we are. And so we kind of come in and we put our stamp all over this work, and it's very rare that a writer who isn't a director gets their true vision to screen. It doesn't really happen that often. I'm also an editor and a VFX artist, and I could kind of see, doing those 10 films, I was like, really, the film is made in the edit, let's be honest. That's where this is the final draft of the script. And one of the things I've found really interesting about this process, I've always been a tech guy. I'm a tech guy wearing filmmaker clothing. That's what I am. And I've always been annoyed at the idea that I could get in a time machine, grab someone from the set of Casablanca, bring them forward, drop them on one of our films now. They'll probably have a rough half an hour trying to figure out iPhones, but pretty quick they catch back up. And I think that's a problem. I'm like, that is a real lack of innovation in our space. Because every time a new piece of tech comes along, we just try and graft it onto the existing pipeline. And we say, okay, well, this is how we've always done it. So we have to shove the new tech on the back end. And then the editors get the blame for things, and the VFX artists get the blame for things. But really, when I go and see a Godzilla film, I like Aaron Johnson, but I'm not going for him. I want to see Godzilla. And, there's the VFX artists, right at the end of the credits, and they've forgot half their names. So we kind of tried to approach this. It was COVID 2021, and I just felt, well, if there was ever a time to reinvent how you make a film from scratch, it would be now. I've got nothing else to do. What could go wrong? So we just dismantled the pipeline completely and reapproached it with this post-first approach. Script, post, and then everything is sort of afterwards. And so what we've got right now is the script is human. All our scripts are human-led, but they're humans working with AI. So AI is an incredible development executive at the moment. So you can go, okay, here's the first draft of my script. We're going to role play. You're Aaron Sorkin, and it's like, cool. I'm Aaron Sorkin. I've won loads of Hollywood awards. You're like, all right, cool. Here's my script. Tell me what you don't like. And then it will start feeding back with you. And then a lot of the writers that we work with now have started using it at the point of inception. So they'll write a scene, feed it in, get feedback, and kind of it's part of their process now. So we kind of take that script, but we encourage the writers, tell us where the camera goes, tell us what the music's doing. You are essentially the director, that this page, this prompt is God. And then we give that to an editor. Editor jumps into whatever his photo tool of choice is, Midjourney, Adobe, Mystic, whatever floats their boat, and starts assembling that animatic immediately. And then as scenes are coming through and we're kind of getting the feel for it, that goes off to the VFX team or the AI gen team, and they start building out the shots. So really the director is kind of in the back end there a little bit, just coming and going, oh, this shot would be better if it looked like this. So really it's a second unit director that we use. So our pipeline is writer, editor, producer led. You know, that is really the future. So I think that if you're a writer or if you're an editor, in my opinion, you're probably about to become the highest paid people in Hollywood. So don't stress, would be my thing. If you're a director, I'm super sorry, man, I didn't do this on purpose. Hi. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm a filmmaker. So how do you use your platform? Like, when you want to make a film with it, how do you interact with it?
So we won't be giving you the tools to make movies. What we actually function as is more as a studio. So you might have a great idea. This is the film I want to make. You come to me and I go, yeah, we like it. Here's a check. Here is a team of people. Here's the release date. We operate very similar to Disney or Fox, just in the AI space. So we are a studio commissioning projects, basically. We're not user generated. There's some great platforms out there like Dreamflare that are doing that, but it's not what we do. So think of us as more of like a traditional film studio, but for this modern era. We want you to use AI tools, and the actual delivery mechanism for how the audience sees our stuff is platform-based first, Window 1 and Window 2, and then we'll sell it off to Netflix for Window 3, which is what traditional Hollywood does anyway, so. Yeah, hi.
Hey, Sebastian. What sort of development time from someone having a great idea or a shitty idea and then talking to ChatGPT?
I mean, I've only ever had shitty ideas,
Yeah, well,
so that's fine.
And then Einstein saying, I'm so enthusiastic about your shitty idea, but
Yeah.
to me watching it, is this something that's compressing? Is it about volume?
Yeah, absolutely. It's compressing for sure. Where the Robots Grow took a team of 9 people, 90 days, start to finish. That was from the day we started development to delivery date. And then we sat on it for months because we had certain players in the Hollywood scene like, we're going to buy this, we're going to put it out. And it was enough money that we would have been cushy for a while. But they didn't want to release it until Q3 of next year, which is the traditional Hollywood system. You buy a thing, you table it, you plate it, you've already sold what Q1 and Q2 is of next year, so this goes in Q3. And I was like, no, we're a tech company, let's do that tech thing and just give it away, it'll be funny. So that's what we did. But yeah, see, that in itself is an issue. As content is getting made more and more at a higher volume, and the tech is getting better every single week. Whatever is good now is redundant 2 weeks from now. But you make a whole film in it. You go ahead and you make a Where the Robots Grow, and then you have to sit on it until Q3 of next year. Let's see how good it looks then. So that's a really big problem, and I think it's part of the reason that the traditional industry is not really giving enough foresight to the level of economic damage that this is going to cause, and not because it's evil or because it's a bad tool. You can't stop it. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. 140 years ago, 83% of the world's population worked in food production. Now it's less than 2%. All the jobs that we do now were invented in the last 100 years. And yes, a lot of them will transition, and it's up for us as a species to retrain. A lot of people don't want to do that, but they will anyway. If in 2007, if I was the heir to an alarm clock company, I was like, life is going to be fucking wicked for me. And then the iPhone came out a year later, not so much. So we're kind of used to this as a species, and we always adapt eventually. A lot of people come kicking and screaming, but they do. But yes, the actual time to make a film is going to keep coming down and down. Currently, we just finished an anime, about 8 weeks, team of 5. It's fucking wicked. So it's the coolest thing we've made so far. So yes, it's coming down, but I still believe human-led scripts is the way to go. I still think that human writing, think about it like this. So I call it the orangutan paradox, right? Like, I don't have a problem with orangutans. They seem pretty cool to me. But I'm not going to bother going down to Borneo, booking a flight, going and finding some, and explaining to them that we're cutting their rainforest down. That's what all those guys are doing, because we fucking love palm oil, and I like to smell like lynx when I take a shower. I'm just not going to do it. It's a long process. The intelligence gap is too big. And as AI increases in intelligence, and I believe it will, the amount of money being spent on it, Anybody that's like, oh, it's leveling out, it won't. No. It's not true. In the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to see a 250 IQ, a 300 IQ. That is alien intelligence. That's an intelligence that we have never encountered as a species. We are the orangutans in that scenario. Can it be bothered to come down from the hill to talk to us? Or is it that we're having a nice little AI event and suddenly a big red laser takes out the block over there and we go, I don't know, and we'll never know because it's got nothing to do with us. I think that there are scenarios like that, but when you apply it to filmmaking, I don't think AI, when it hits that level of intelligence, will give a rat's ass about trying to connect to us on an emotional level. So you're going to need that human writer more than ever. If anything, we're probably going to annoy it. It's going to be like, why keep asking me these stupid fucking questions and leave me alone? So I think we're heading into a very interesting space, and we have to differentiate between artificial intelligence as an entity and AI as a tool. You know, like using a diffusion model, a Minimax, or any of these kinds of tools is very different than using something that could potentially become sentient. The two will separate. So there's going to be a big need for editors, a big need for writers. The rest of us will find our way. It's kind of my approach. Hi, you've been putting your hand up a lot, so.
I'm Matt Morgan from We Are Humane.
Cool.
Just going to launch the world's largest AI artist roster.
Yep.
We've just been speaking at BAFTA today, and the thing that we had to lead with was ethical AI.
Sure.
What are you doing about ethical AI?
Sure, I mean, look, obviously this is a topic we come across a lot. You know, for me personally, as CEO of a company, ethics has to start at home. I try to use the tools to enhance the life of the team that work for me, pay them more money, let them have Fridays off, that's family day. So kind of ethics is built up front in terms of how I treat the team, and then in terms of what the tools are doing. This is the interesting thing. The reality is, okay, there's two ways to look at this. Yes, do I personally, as somebody who knows that my films are in those training models, but I know I've seen them on the list, and I'm like, okay, well, it's kind of outside of my parameter to deal with this. Now, what I can do is use tools like Adobe more, because of, you know, the way I can certainly stand on a pedestal and, you know, kind of advocate for more transparency in the way the tools are used. I certainly believe there should be some sort of compensation mechanism. But I also am a realist who feels like that's probably unlikely to figure out in the short term. Unfortunately, the tech industry is a do it now, say sorry later approach. And there's a lot of companies that are popping up now who are, well, we're going to pay you to train on your data. And yes, hopefully the market responds and says, we're going to use that tool because we believe in it. History to me says that that can go one way or another. I think the market leaders out the gate right now will come to some sort of resolution with major studios where they'll pay for the library and the studios go, well, we're happy. Kind of screws the rest of us. But that is a legal stuff that has to be sorted out in the courts. I think on a wider discussion though, this is kind of a tough one to talk about. I'm very working class. I come from a town called Walsall. 17 years armpit of Britain in the Daily Mail. Freaking get in. And so, you know, I often kind of get wound up at the argument that intelligence should somehow be put back in a box, right? For the last 100 years, we've lived in the information era. Information is available to you if you can go and access it, but intelligence is a very different thing. Being able to connect those networks and see information in a way that is applicable to the real world, that's intelligence. And for a lot of working class communities all over the world, intelligence is not something that they have daily access to, you know, through no fault of their own, poor schools, impoverished areas, etc. And so, you know, I kind of feel like this is quite controversial, so sorry, I know, it's probably not what you want to hear me saying at all. I feel like there's an ethical argument to be made for why we should just let this happen. And then there's this intelligence argument where, for the first time in human history, we have a tool that doesn't necessarily take a working class job away. It takes a white collar, a blue collar, you know, that's the thing, right? You know, the first time somebody invented a wheel, some dude stuck it on a wheelbarrow, gave it to a farmer, and the farmer who had 6 guys collect collecting cabbages, fired 5 of them. And every time a technology arrived throughout human history, it was a working class job that bit the dust. And nobody said a fucking word. Where were the big news bulletins when all the checkout ladies at Morrison's got replaced? Nothing. What about the train stations? We were just annoyed that they were making us late for work. How dare they strike? But now it comes for the middle class. Ah, no, that's it. This can't happen. That really annoys me and upsets me. Because I think that we have a right to intelligence. I think it's about to become an ethical right. This is similar to during the Industrial Revolution, when we had to decide as a species, is electricity and water that can suddenly put plumb to your house, are these utilities or are these a right? Do you have a right to access this stuff? And I think in the intelligence era, that argument becomes about data. Do we have a right to access the cumulative knowledge of the human race? I personally believe the answer is yes, we do. And in the next 2 years, a billion people who've never ever been on the internet will join it for the first time. That's going to happen in the next 18 months. There's 3.8 billion current internet users. There are 8 billion people on the planet. 3.2 billion people don't know what Facebook is. They don't know what Instagram is. They are stuck down a cobalt mine making sure that you can get that tweet out on time. And they are about to access the internet for the first time. And when they join it, they will join an internet that is already AI powered. GPT, Minimax. How many filmmakers are in that billion people? How will they revolutionize economics as we know it from the ground up using this tech? I, for one, don't want to get left behind when that happens because I can't stop it. And 2, I actually think they've got a right to it. So it's kind of like 2 pennies worth. I know it's a very grey issue. I know a lot of people feel like, okay, yeah, but what about copyright law, etc.? And these things are important, but they're important for a court to solve. And they will solve. But I don't believe in my heart that any judge on the planet is going to go to court and say, okay, if you've looked at other stuff and then you've made a transformative version of that other stuff, that's breach of copyright. Because it's a floodgate that they just don't want to open. And so I'm not banking on it personally. I'm going, what's my big vision? The tech will resolve itself. The law will resolve itself. And I personally, from an ethical stance, believe we have a right to intelligence. That's kind of my stance. Sorry, that was a big ass rant. But the company's super cool. I checked you guys out. I'm really sorry. Okay, who's next? Hi.
Bit more of a basic question. Carl,
Sure.
What do you think of the length of features? I mean, 120-page script, and you made a film there. What's your vision for that? Do you agree with the length of it?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're not fucking around with that. I mean, look, we put an 87-minute film out, mostly because it was just like, oh, that'll be quite baller if it's actually the length of a film. But also, I think it's about changing the mechanism in which your viewers engage. You know, as is this microtransaction engagement model. We don't want you to change the story. We want to change how a user engages with your story. And sadly, there's a lot of data out there to suggest if your user isn't engaged every 1 minute and 31 seconds, their thumb will hover to something different. So, you know, how many of you have tried to watch a film on Netflix? You're on the train and you're just like, just keep checking this other thing, and then you come back, you watch it broken. It's become the natural state for us to watch long-form content smashed into tiny pieces that feels convenient to us, and no one wants to admit it. We all say, oh, we want to preserve the cinematic experience, but I don't know if that's true. I fucking love cinema. I mean, I spent my entire career obsessed with theme and storytelling and how you execute that and what makes a shot work, what should you be saying with your art department thematically, etc. And this year I've been to the cinema twice. I had loads of opportunities. I keep telling myself, it's because I'm busy. I'm a busy guy. It's bullshit. I just can't be bothered. I just don't want to go. The carpets are sticky and there's a kid on his phone. I just don't want to do it. And that's the reality that we're wandering into. And we've done it to ourselves. Me, I'm not going to cry about it. I think it's time we innovated. There's been no innovation in our space for a very, very long time, and now it's arrived. And if we don't embrace it, like I said to Hayden, your accountant will. Your accountant doesn't have a need for green screen. He's never going to put a green screen code in his accountant office. It's not a piece of tech that an accountant wants. They will use artificial intelligence. And if you don't, they're going to make better films than you and choose their own shit over your shit. Like, don't let that happen. Hi.
Hi, my name is Hossam. I'm just curious, what do you think about VR in all of this?
Okay, I'm going to upset loads of mates now. I don't like it. Yeah, the question was, what do I think about VR, for those at the back? I think augmented reality will have a huge place in society, but I don't know if virtual reality will inside storytelling. I mean, we've had it in gaming for a long time, and even the gamers are mostly rejecting it. For whatever reason, I think it's likely because we like our stories presented to us in a linear fashion. We're linear creatures psychologically. For us, time moves in one direction. That's why we all blow our load when Quentin Tarantino chops it up, like, oh my God, look what he did. But you know, when you're playing a long form narrative, and for the most part, especially when you're engaging in watching something with somebody else, or you're part of that community experience, you don't want to be in VR. I think until they solve the cumbersome headset stuff, we're probably not going there. But augmented reality, I can totally see that happening in the next few years. I really think we're about to enter the audio computing space. So that will be the big revolution in the next few years. You know, like in Star Trek, Picard will just wander out and be like, computer, we're going here. You're like, where's the fucking screen? He's not even holding anything. And just the shit goes. That's us in the next few years. Headphones first, you know, artificial intelligence kind of operating omnisciently inside your life, and you're just telling it to do things, and things are done for you. That, I think, will have a big place in society. Thanks, guys. I'll come to the pub if you want to actually. I'll come to the pub.